Hello, this is a Thanksgiving week instructional video on setting up Lab 1 to work on your computer. I'll cover a lot of bases, but not all of them. Obviously, I have to work through the problem. However, Lab 1 consists of two parts, which is a required part up till step 10 and an extra credit, which is due this Sunday, November 30th, in order to receive credit, counting steps 11, 12, and 13, if I'm right. If I'm wrong, you'll find out what parts. They're pretty clearly marked. So the lab starts, no big deal, with a little bit of work in step 1. Most of the lab refers to use of strings and loops. So there's not many examples of a use of an array in this lab, but there are some. And you begin to create a static method called getResponse in step 1. And in step 2, you begin to create a method called contains_any_of, and that is step 2. In step 3, you get to create a method called getRandomResponse, and basically you're selecting a random index position from the string's responses and returning it as a string variable. And we move to step 4, and it invites you to either install Eclipse or NetBeans. I don't think in my years of teaching this for AVOI anyone has ever installed NetBeans. It's a bit of a has-been, but probably still useful. May have used it once way back in the day. However, it does invite you to install Eclipse, which is available in a Mac and a PC format, or as well Linux. However, you do have to have the access to and the ability to install programs on your computer. It probably won't go on a Chromebook or an iPad, so we'll talk about an online option a little later. But first, if you haven't done so already, you would install Java from oracle.com, and then install Eclipse. So there's two tabs here are to set up. Now you may already have done that, or you may be using another compiler like Visual Studio Code, which is a very popular compiler. This video will show you how to work the lab in Visual Studio Code as well. So we'll start off with Eclipse. The point being that all the labs, and there are about 8, 10, I can't absolutely remember, are given to you in Eclipse format. So it might be useful to explore the option of using Eclipse. So now in step 5, they have you to download a file and to save it locally. So they'll give you how to install it in Eclipse. Okay, so once it's downloaded, I'm going to download it here, and you can see that it downloads into the downloads folder on a Windows machine, and I'll open that up and show you what it looks like. Here's the JPEG for the video that I'm going to post on YouTube, and this is the zip file. I'm going to take a moment to uncompress it or extract it, and I'll just extract all, and I'll say just go ahead and extract it, in my case, to the downloads folder, but you may want to extract it to a folder where you've been saving your work. Downloads is not a very good place for me to save things, but we'll just extract. And it'll create in the downloads folder an unzipped folder of the same type and name as the zip file. And if you explore into it, you see a lab01. And if you go a little bit into it, you'll find that digging deeper into lab01, you'll find a lab runner 01 or lab01 runner. And so I'm just going to back up to downloads and switch over to Eclipse. Now I have the Matty Dread file open. I'm going to recommend that if you haven't done the two assignments, which are Magic Square or Theater, that you look at the Matty Dread folder or the video accompanying it to help you along in doing those projects if you have any difficulty. But following the instructions on the EIMACS website, they suggest what you would do is import. And you need to scroll up a little bit, existing projects into workspace. Okay, so great, it's an existing project. And it's not this one that I want, but let me browse and see that I'm going to choose the zip file, not the one that I extracted already, but legitimately the zip file, because Eclipse will be able to unzip it and open it in the proper format. So I click open, and the lab01 folder subfolder is already checked, and I really don't need anything more, so I'm just going to click finish. Now you probably don't have a lot of projects, okay, but I have lab 1, and so what happens is I'm going to go into SRC folder and into the lab here and open it up, and it runs out of the box, okay, so I'm just going to run it, and it'll say hello, let's talk, and I'll say mom, and most people say that. How about mother? Well, it doesn't seem to absolutely work. What you have to do in cutting back is to, as they say, you open it, you'll find that it will require that you copy over. Here's NetBeans, Eclipse, try the chat bot out, okay. In order to exit the program, you would type BYE and it would be done. Well, the key is to look it over, and then at that point complete the following steps. Up 7, okay, they have you add something to the project as it's opened, okay, right here, okay, and then 8, they're going to add something else, and then 10, all right, what they want you to do is rezip the file and put it back up. So what I'm going to do is go back to this folder. I'll close it because I don't want to zip something that's open. I'll go back to downloads, and I will go ahead and compress to a zip file. And because I already have the name of the other file, it goes to 2, and I hope that works. I'll go back and take that and choose the file and go back to downloads and choose the one that I just zipped up and click open. Now when I hit submit, it gives you error messages, and in my case, since I've done absolutely nothing since opening it, it doesn't meet certain minimum requirements. So what happens is it may or may not give you some better type responses, giving you a clue as to where the errors are. But this one is so far from the truth, okay, that it won't give me any type of message. So I'm going to cut over to Visual Studio Code and show you how it works there. Now, you'll recall that I unzipped the download from EIMACS, and I'm going to open that folder. Let me just pause back again and go File, Open Folder, okay? And I'll go to Documents, and I'll choose the unzipped folder, Lab 01, okay? And then I'll select. So again, I'm choosing the unzipped folder. And again, what I'm going to do is open Lab 01 Runner, and I'm going to run it and see if it works right out of the box. And we're waiting for it to run out of the box. Not now. Okay, it runs out of the box. BYE ends it. And what again you do is add what they ask you to add to the lab runner. And then in a likewise matter, what you would do is compress the one you're working on to a zip file and upload it. Alright, so that's how you would use Visual Studio Code. Now, I may want to warn you in ahead that some of the future labs are difficult to import into Visual Studio Code. That's not absolutely to tell you it's impossible, but definitely think maybe this is the time for Eclipse. Okay. Last night in class, someone said, I worked Eclipse for the first time. It was a little bit difficult to get accustomed to, but after a while, it happened pretty easily. So lastly, I want to show you what it looks like on an online compiler, GDB Online. So what I did is I created a new project already called Lab 01, and what I want to do at this point is upload a file. And if you're thinking what I want to upload is Lab 01, okay, and here I go into Lab 01 Runner. I'll just hit that, and it's good. Okay, and if I run it, okay, the problem is that I need to get rid of the package statement, so I'm going to comment that out and try running it again. And again, because I'm only dealing with one file, I don't want to deal with the package statement. I'm just simply going to go mother. Interesting, tell me more, and that usually, and you can see that, mother. Let me try lowercase mother. Okay. Alright, I'm not editing that. Sorry. Tell me more about your family, and then I'll just type by because I don't want to tell you about my family. Again, what you're going to do is download the current file, put it back in the folder which you unzipped, okay, over here, put it back in where it belongs, exactly in the same place, and zip it up or compress it to a zip type file and upload that for testing on the EIMACS website. So hopefully this made Lab 01 a bit easier, and in conclusion, reach out if you have any issues. I hope anyone who is a little behind in their work, use this Thanksgiving break to catch up, and to each of you, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving.